Okay, here. Oh, look who's back.
Let me tell you what you're not allowed to do. You're not allowed to try to watch football and stream and do little nonsense at the same time. I had a lot going on my computer.
How many years you been doing this, bro?
Not as long as you, but I've been doing this for a little while.
You can't overload the Wi-Fi network.
David Helman, for some reason, the Cowboys want to get older at running back. Nobody else does that. I thought fresh legs were the way. And, the Cowboys are doing good with the cheapness of the money. Zeke's making $75 a year. Dalvin Cook's making like 38 or something like that. So they both cheap, but they both old. And I thought that the unknown the unknown young running back has always been better than the older running back with the name that we respect, but they're 28, 29, 30 years old. Dave, why are the Cowboys so behind on the running back situation? And what's your opinion? Because you could be happy with Dalvin Cook. Me and Bryan are not. Where you at with this whole running back room situation, Dave Helman?
I'm just kind of indifferent. Literally, when I saw the Dalvin Cook news, I just kind of laughed, and I was just like, okay, whatever. I mean, sure, I guess if it's going to make you happy. What's crazy, guys, is I know, like, bringing Zeke back is going to elicit a response, for better or for worse. Like, some people are really excited. Some people really hate it. I was fine with it. I'm like, sure, he's a franchise legend. He's got a relationship with everybody in the building. And I'm going to keep saying this. Zeke was a useful player for New England last year. Like, he wasn't great, but he was a useful player. And when you're paying him $1.5 million a year, who cares? I don't care. I'm totally on board with Zeke being on this team for what he is. My thing is, why do you need another Zeke?
Yeah.
Like, the goal is to build a running back room. Really, all of your rooms is to, like, be diverse. Like, you got your speed guy, you got your receiving back, you got your power guy, short yardage, you got your best pass protector. You're supposed to have a diversity of roles doing a bunch, with a bunch of different strengths. Zeke and Dalvin Cook are the same guy.
Yeah.
Like, they just seem like the same player to me. They seem like they fill the same role. Like, there's not as much burst as there used to be. They're probably only going to be as good as the blocking in front of them. They know their way around the scheme in terms of you're probably going to trust them with pass protecting, and they're not going to play a whole lot of special teams. Yeah. Why do you need two? I don't really get why you need two. That said, I would rather they be doing this than give out major contracts at running back. Like, this is still better than having, a Zeke player on a $90 million contract. So it's weird. I don't really get it. I also don't think it's going to be the reason why the Cowboys are good or bad this year.
David, I worry that I'm going into the camp that I think this offensive line is going to be better as run blockers, because I like what I've seen from BB. I love what I always see with Zach Martin, with the power he plays with, and I think that Tyler Smith's a rising star. The way that they run the football is really not in the perimeter. It's more of an inside type of a game, and I think they're going to get really good push inside, and they're going to able to kind of dictate how they're going to run the football. I worry that they're not going to use the right combination of backs to take advantage of maybe Zach Martin's last year.
I was at least very encouraged to hear Mike McCarthy say today that Rico Dowdle is going to do less on special teams to account for a larger role. I mean, I hope Rico's the lead dog. I don't know how realistic that is, because I do think this is the Cowboys, and let's be very cynical and very blunt.
Yeah.
The big guy in the owner's box is going to want to see Zeke and Dalvin Cook touching the ball, I think.
Yeah.
But I'm really hoping Rico Dowdle gets a chance to do his thing, because I do think that's your best bet to have some juice.
Dave, how many games then are we going to see? How many is it going to be? You remember me, I asked Jerry Jones the question, did you feel like you wasted Pollard's career? And he wasn't happy with me on that question at all. But do you feel like there's going to be a number of games? Is it going to be 3 or 4 games before we're all looking at each other and looking at the metrics and saying, damn it, give the ball to Dowdle here, because it's not working any other way like it needs to be working?
Yeah, this is the benefit of like moving to California, and I've got other teams on my radar that I need to pay attention to. Like, I'm not as caught up in that. I don't mean that. I'm not. Listen.
No, yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
I ain't got time to be watching all this.
Don't worry about Voch and I here in Dallas.
I ain't got time to be watching all this cowboy film. I got to go look at the Bucks or something. Please, Dave.
Yeah. No, it's not so much that. It's just that I'm not as caught up in the day-to-day stress of like, oh my God,
why are you lying? Why are you lying right now?
I'm just telling
your bread and butter is this football team.
No,
your
totally.
Expertise on this football team.
That's not what I'm trying to say. Of course, I keep tabs on what's going on with the Cowboys. That's not what I mean.
Yeah.
My point is, from a distance, I'm just like, you know what? I'm going to trust that the coaching staff sees the obvious thing, which is that they've got a young guy with juice in Rico. And I don't know how unless like if Dalvin Cook gets out there and just looks like a transformed player, I'll eat some crow. But I kind of trust that to sort itself out. All I was trying to say is I'm not losing sleep about this because I think it's going to be obvious to basically everybody that Rico's your best bet among this bunch of guys, at least in terms of like being a difference maker.
Boy, Bryan Davis said, hey, I can't be bothering myself to watch this cowboy film. I got to talk to Sean McDermott in the morning. I got to interview.
Y'all are the worst.
But
Y'all
Dave,
are the worst.
The one thing that I just I understand what you're saying. Zeke was a useful player, but like Joe Looney's a useful player. Brock Hoffman is, like anybody that plays a bunch of snaps. Like Brandon Carr was a useful player. You know what I'm saying? And I don't mind Zeke being on this team neither. Like Zeke as the player, but it's politics that risk get involved, Dave. And that's my biggest pushback. Which is why I would have loved Royce Freeman, right? Royce Freeman would have been the third running back. He'd have got 7 carries a game, and we wouldn't even know that anything happened, right? We know Zeke has what I call rollover seniority. I already told Bryan what this was. Rollover seniority for Ezekiel Elliott or Jason Witten, whoever you are, to where you can tap on your helmet and take a better dude off the field and go run out there because you are who you once was, right? And I've seen Zeke do that with Tony Pollard before. I just feel like if Rico Dowdle was the first guy and Deuce Vaughn was like a change of pace, throw the ball to him, and Zeke was like 8 carry a game guy, maybe 3 catches, y'all wouldn't hear a word out of me. I wouldn't complain at all. But David Helman, are you ready for Zeke to not only be the first running back out there, but he's going to get the most carries? Are you ready for that? Is that a world that you are prepared to live in? Because you're putting a lot of faith in these coaches to be like, oh yeah, Zeke's number one, and well, Rico's number one, and Rico should be number one. You're putting a lot of faith in those coaches to go out there and think that way. I think Zeke's gonna be your first guy, and I think he's gonna get the most carries, Dave.
That's very fair, and I think that's a really good point. Unfortunately, and politics are part of this. I mean, right, you root for the team where the owner calls has the final shot. And I think, what's ironically, I'll own it and I'll keep saying it. Like, I was in favor of the Trey Lance trade because it's a small price to pay for big upside. And I'm always enamored with opportunities to do that. But basically, the Cowboys' last shot, they needed to invest in a running back that was going to eliminate this possibility. Like if you get Marshawn Lloyd or Braylon Allen or Bucky Irving, that's a good enough player drafted with a good enough pick that even Jerry's going to be like, all right, shit, you got me. Like we're going to run with this guy. I don't have a leg to stand on, but getting rid of that pick costs you that opportunity, and now Jerry's sitting there going like, let's go get my guy. What case do we have to not get my guy? And I hear you, Voch, and I think you have to acknowledge that that's a very real possibility. But remember, what was it? We got to week 6 last year, and the offense looked like ass.
Yeah,
it did.
And they switched up, and they started doing what they needed to do, and they were one of the best groups in the league. So if it takes a week, if it takes a month, I think cooler heads are going to win out. And if it's very obvious that Rico needs to be the guy, I do trust that the need to get results will win out. Unfortunately, I think you're right that maybe it would take some time.
So Dave, to that point, and Brian can bounce off this, you are absolutely right. This offense was nonsensical for about 6 or 7 weeks. Do you think the same thing is going to happen this year? Because Mike McCarthy says, hey, man, we got to run the football, dog. We are going to run the football. And Mike McCarthy love to do this right around this time of year. But, boy, we get into the season, he go, Dak, help, please. Do you think we're actually going to – what do you think this offense is going to look like? Do you think we're actually going to run the football? You think it's going to be a continuation of what we did last year to where, all right, CD is going to get his 18 targets, his 27 targets. Ferguson's going to get busy. Cook's going to get busy. We're not going to run the damn football. What do you think, Dave?
It better look exactly like how it looked last year.
That's my point.
Especially like, I mean, if they had gotten some crazy upgrade at running back, I'm here for it. I'm all ears. Brian, you make a very good point about, these young cats improving the run blocking on this offensive line. If that's the case, then I'm open to it. But it worked really, really well last year. I would really like to just let Ford decide what needs to happen back there. I trust him completely. CD speaks for itself, but I'm trying my best to pound the drum for Jake Ferguson as well. Like I do think there are legitimate options in this passing game where just let the quarterback cook, man. Unless we get into this thing. I mean, if Tyler Guyton mauls Myles Garrett in 10 days, if Tyler Guyton's just road grading Myles Garrett and the Cowboys are running at will on Cleveland, then we can revisit this.
Yeah.
But if it looks like what I think it's going to look like, which is to say just decent, then just put the ball in the quarterback's hands.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right about that, David. I do feel like they'll be better inside. I like the athletic ability of the left tackle. I don't think in the draft we gave him enough credit as a run blocker.
Yeah.
Because there were things that we saw in camp and some of the preseason games where it gave you – now his hands are a little wild, but the thing is, I think you look at Steele. Steele doesn't have strength, but what Steele has is foot quickness, athletic ability, that kind of stuff. If you're telling me I could play with power inside and those two tackles will play with cutoffs and stuff like that, and I think there's a chance. I just keep worrying that it's going to be the plays blocked to go 6 and they get 2 or they get 3 because they can't. And Voch and I think you'll agree on this. When you need maybe some run game creativity with this coaching staff, I mean, we could put on Ben Johnson run game creativity. We could put on San Francisco, but I think these teams have similar type of talent with the exception of the running backs, when you start to talk about offensive lines and stuff like that. So to me, that's what I worry about, that they have the ability to do it, and then the backs don't allow them to do it, and then it turns into the Dak Prescott show. And I'm with you on Dak. I totally agree of using him, Ferguson, Lamb, Cook. Even Tolbert thrown in there. I think there's some positive stuff about there, but man, please don't waste an opportunity if these guys are actually moving people in games and you got a back that's getting 3 yards a carry. Don't do that.
It's a fun thought to think like, and so much of my angst about the Cowboys, like I've been pretty down on the Cowboys this year. Not that they're like a terrible team, but it just seemed like they were going to not have a choice but to take a step back. Yeah. But you change your opinion as you adapt to new information, and like it's hard not to be excited by what we've seen from these rookie O-lineman guys. Which I'm reserving complete judgment. Like I got to see it in a game, and what better first test than Cleveland to see like, all right, were we fooling ourselves in the preseason, or are these guys actually about to be some dogs? And if they are, it could change the trajectory of your entire season. Like if Beebe and Guyton are both hits right away, we could, I mean, who gives a shit if Dalvin Cook is the running back? Like he could be an 1,100-yard back if these guys are awesome. But it's just, I don't know that quite yet.
Yeah, you have to see it. I agree. I know just being out there at training camp and watching like the Rams scrimmage where BB and Martin and Smith are blocking. And I'm thinking like they're going to be stronger inside. That was the one thing that killed me about Broaddus. And when they started talking about Hoffman starting, I'm like, you might have strength, but you don't have BB strength, and you sure don't have the athletic ability that you had with Broaddus. So getting a cutoff blocker, getting the second level, they put the right center in there. They got the right center in there. And if that kid at left tackle continues to come off the ball the way that he does and engage, with in the running game, they'll be better. But like I say, creativity, probably not. Backs, probably not. They're going to have to figure that out really quick, I think.
Dave, I came on this show 12 shows in a row as Bryan. I fussed about Hoffman and BB every single day.
Did. You did.
I fussed about Hoffman every single day because I feel like the last time this Cowboys run game, and this will probably go to your point about why Zeke and Cook will be okay, but the last time this Cowboy run game was really good, Travis, Ron, and Zach was out there just moving people out the way. They was moving people by themselves. They was moving people even further when they're out there double teaming. And when you watch the film, it's apparent BB's a dude. BB's a dude. And even though Guyton's the higher pick, I think it's going to take Guyton a little while to really be who he's going to be. I think it's going to happen so much sooner for BB. And that combination of him, Tyler Smith, and Zach Martin, I think that's going to be stupid. So if anybody got any kind of pushback on, hey, Voch, don't worry about it, the run game's going to be cool because BB's here to save the day. I totally agree there.
The one thing you have to real quick, if I could, Dave, jump in there.
Please.
We watched the thing that I do have concern about Guyton, and we talk about some of the learning curves and things. His hands are not great. And you watch him on pass protection, and I can't tell you how many clips I've seen, where I've stopped the film and it's like headbutt forward, hands outside, but he's such a good athlete that he could headbutt you, get back, reset his hands. But man, those hands they're outside constantly. And the one thing that old Verse did with the Rams was he broke his hands down. Yeah. And so, that's something, man, if Tyler Guyton is going to struggle, it is going to be with his hands. I don't think he's going to struggle with anything else. But if you said, hey, tell me something that could be a problem, his hands could be an initial problem. But we thought the same thing about Tyler Smith and the number of times, he got called for holding and stuff at Tulsa. Mm-hmm. So hopefully they'll rally those hands and get him where they need to be.
If Tyler Guyton can play like Tyler Smith did at left tackle,
I'm going to jail.
Absolutely.
I'm getting arrested if Tyler Guyton plays like Tyler Smith did.
Yeah. It's exciting to think. I can't wait. I mean, I liked the pick. I wasn't convinced it was going to happen quickly. But like I said, I'm really intrigued and excited by what we've seen so far. I hope he keeps it going.
Man, David Helman, boy, Bryan Broaddus asked me the other day. He said, Voch, is this team going to be led by the offense or the defense? He was like, are we going to lean on, which one are we going to lean on more? And my first response to that was, I always felt like this was an offensive team, Dave. This has always been like a top tier offense kind of team. We can always put up big numbers and big points and all that kind of stuff, man. But man, we be needing defense in them big games, don't we? We just be needing just a little more time. You know what I mean? I would love for us for the first time in our life to win a defensive struggle like 12-9. I can live with some of them games for once in our life, right?
Might be week one.
It might damn be. It might damn be because that Browns offense ain't good. Dave, who are we gonna have to lean on most? Mike and his boys, or Mike and his boys? Mike and the offensive kids, or Mike and the defensive kids? Which side are we gonna have to lean on the most?
I know it's a new year and a completely new team, so I know it's not fair, but doesn't that Green Bay game just stick in your craw when you're trying to answer that question? Because I mean, and all last year we talked about, it's like, oh, the identity of the Cowboys has flipped. It's Micah's team now. It's the defense. And I mean, Dak was bad too. I've never tried to shy away from that. Dak was so bad in that game, and I don't care about what he did in the second half. But the defense just completely a no-show of, I still haven't processed it because it was that bad. Like I said, I know it's a completely new team, but it's hard not to think about that. And I also, I'm curious, I think the world of Mike Zimmer, and I trust him he's one of those coaches where I'm like, you give him an armful of ingredients, he'll make you like a useful salad, he's going to turn this into something tasty. But I still wonder if he's got the horses, this year, like the linebacker core doesn't feel like, I know we're all excited about Overshown, but again, like I need to see it. The defensive line depth, like, all right, cool.
The depth,
they added a ton of AARP guys here in the last week, but how's that going to hold up? Like, the depth was an issue last year, and I thought they had a lot better depth. Now you lose Bland. So I think they'll be good, but I don't know that they have the horses to be something that you can lean on down, game in and game out over 18 weeks. Whereas I do, like, I trust the offense to usually get you 20 something points. I know, like, they'll lay an egg, they'll go up to Buffalo and score 10 points or whatever, but like more often than not, I trust them to handle their half of it.
Well, Dave, you said D-line depth, and that is interesting, right? Because it doesn't feel like we have great D-line depth. Like, it feels like we suck there. But let me just ask you, right? You and Bryan, right? Is Jordan Phillips better than Neville Gallimore, right? Like which one of those better?
No, I get it. And I will say this for anybody, like, if you're in the comments and you're saying, shut up, Dave, like, what are you talking about?
They better not.
I feel so much better now with Linval Joseph and Phillips on the team. This was something where I was like, this could sink their season 2 weeks ago. And now I'm like, yeah, like, they'll probably be okay.
Bryan, real fast. Bryan,
but the question to me, real quick though, and I was on Cowboys break today talking about this. It's the edges.
Yeah.
The edge depth. That's when you with
right.
With Nealon, you're hopeful for the best. It looks very promising for him.
Yeah.
Golston, trying to figure that out. He's been here for a long time. Carl Lawson on the practice squad. Wheat. Where's the backup edges? If there's going to be an issue, where's the pass rush? We know the pass rush can come from Tank and Parsons. Zimmer's going to have to be creative on some of this blitz stuff that he does, because if all of a sudden Golston's out there, Nealon's out there, you're probably playing against the run a little bit better.
Yeah,
but where's your pass rush? Who is that guy? Who is that guy going to be? And that I'm not so much worried about the defensive tackles as I am as the depth at the edges. That's the one that's kind of got me a little bit scratching my head.
I'm always careful not to kill. Like, I'm not going to kill the Cowboys for letting Dorrance Armstrong walk. Like, that's the type of guy that you need to let walk. Like, you can't afford to pay Dorrance Armstrong when you've got Micah to worry about and all these other contracts. But it's a guy that you're going to miss. He wore so many hats for this defense, didn't get credit for it because there's so many stars. But, if Marshawn Nealon's not ready to be that guy right away, and I don't think it's fair to expect him to be, that's the type of thing where halfway through the season, you're like, shit, like, they need one more guy. They just, they need one more guy who can win a matchup when Micah's getting triple teamed somewhere.
Yeah. Bryan, if you had to have one, would you rather your run defense be better like we assume it's going to be this year, or would you rather have your pass rush be really good, like 3-4 pass rushes deep like it was last year? Like which one's better for you? Because there's another question that I wanted to pose to my audience today, but us three started working today. Man, did we really misevaluate Hankins? Hankins may have been the best we had, but was he really good for real? Because our run defense wasn't good in general. So I feel like it wasn't going to take a whole bunch to get better in the run defense. You know what I'm saying? It just a couple of guys here, Marshawn Nealon there, get Fowler and Dorrance out of here. All right, cool. Your run defense is better. What would you rather have, the better run defense or the better pass rush, Brian?
I'd like to take the pass rush, but I'll tell you what. I feel like the run defense, it fell on defensive tackles last year. That linebacker crew was not good enough to play the run.
Terrible.
It wasn't, and you weren't good enough on the edge. And we could talk about Armstrong, and we could talk about Sam Williams, and we could talk about Fowler, and we could talk about where that ball was going and how it was cutting back and how those guys were getting up the field and how they were getting walled off. And then we talked about, hey, you got a 205-pound kid, Bell standing there trying to take on blocks, so he's fighting blocks. You're playing single high safety, the extra safety. Where is he in the alley? He couldn't get that done.
Sure.
You run the ball to Diggs' side, and all of a sudden Diggs is playing like he looks like a matador over there in Pamplona, Spain, at the running of the bulls. So, I'm just telling you, they will be better on run defense just because that group of linebackers they have are better players. I saw it in the Raider game. And it gave me encouragement the way that Zimmer plays the scheme. And it was the backups. And it was the backups that were in there. And all of a sudden they get Rodgers, the defensive tackle, to set. He sets. So they got that square. Then all of a sudden they got Leofau filling the other gap, the B gap. And then they got Willie Harvey running over the top. Well, Willie Harvey doesn't get there. But what encouraged me was, okay, I could see it. Defensive tackle play, fill linebacker, and then you get one of these guys. You get Clark or Kendricks or somebody running over the top that's going to make that a 2-yard gain and not a 9-yard gain because Willie Harvey just didn't quite get over there. They will be better at run defense. So to me, if you could create pressure. Because they're going to need to create some pressure. They're going to have a rookie cornerback starting, I believe. Carson's going to be out there starting for you. You need to do everything in your power to make quarterbacks have to speed up and play. Because, like I say, and I think that Carson's going to do a fine job. I love Zimmer playing cover 2 looks, being sound, keep things in front, linebackers that can drop and kind of cover. I like that. So to me, I think the run defense is going to be fine. Just give me the pass rush so I know that if I stop you, which I think I can from running the ball, that I could sick a pass rush on you and make you and get off the field when I need to.
It's going to be such a wild adjustment after 3 years of Dan Quinn to just see the different shit Zimmer will be willing to try. Dan Quinn's just like, we're manning up and sending guys at the quarterback, get ready. Like it was, you kind of knew what to expect. And I don't completely know what to expect from Zim, which is exciting. Jesus, Voch, like you brought back some terrible memories just now. Because like while I was trying to answer that question in my head, it made me think of CJ Anderson in the 2018 playoffs. And I'm just like, there's nothing more depressing than just knowing they're going to run the ball and not having an answer for it.
Sure. Yeah.
But it's equally depressing. Think back to 2014 when Jeremy Mency and his 6 sacks are the best thing about your pass rush. And you're sitting there like, Aaron Rodgers could stand in the pocket for 18 seconds and we're not going to sniff him. So like they're equally shitty is the answer. Like, I don't think there is a good answer. I'll say this. Micah Parsons is on this team, which means they're going to have a good pass rush because he's either going to get home or he's going to command so much attention that it'll make life easier on somebody else. So like, as long as he's healthy and on the field, I think this pass rush will be adequate. So I'm way more focused on the run defense. Personally.
Yeah. I mean, I like what you said, David. I will say this. We talked about lack of creativity for the offensive running game. Mike Zimmer will be creative of how he'll move Micah Parsons around. Dan Quinn pretty much had him as a stationary player. He's going to play the end. Mike Zimmer is not going to let people get a bead on him, on Micah Parsons. He's not. Now, maybe he'll put his hand down and let him rush a couple of times, especially if they get a bad offensive tackle over there. They could surely do that. But I think that Mike Zimmer will find ways to move this guy around. Mike has even talked about it enough that like he's, you watch the practices and stuff where he's A gap, he's over on the left, he's over on the right, he's kind of they're trying to he's like walking in the A gap, and all of a sudden he rushes all the way outside C gap and nobody touches him. Sack, Dak's down, sack, that's the kind of stuff that I'm like, I need that. I need Mike Zimmer. If my offense is not going to have run game creativity, by God, give me defensive creativity with my best players. And I think Mike Zimmer can do that.
Guys, I've always been like pass rush guy, right? Because nothing's more fun than just watching people chase a quarterback, though, man. But like Dave said, like some of your worst losses, your pass rush didn't even matter because you couldn't stop the damn run. You know what I mean? And I just feel like as long as you have a Micah Parsons, then he'll make some of your other guys better. Osa turns into a really good pass rush because we have to focus on Micah. And
but how committed are teams to really running the ball?
I mean, Josh Allen, who's one of the best. Josh Allen, who's one of the best quarterbacks in the world, threw the ball 8 times against you and beat your ass.
That was a really, and that neutralized Micah Parsons. And your offense was so damn bad. If Dallas's offense could put any kind of pressure, if Dallas, the one thing that last year with Dan Quinn, when they had success, it's when they had a lead.
Yeah,
it's when they had a lead. Yeah. When people, the one way to neutralize Micah Parsons is to run the football. But how committed are you to really doing that?
Yeah, and I think it's worth pointing out. Like, I mean, credit to Buffalo. You got to do what you got to do sometimes. But just what a mess of a game.
Yeah,
the Green Bay game was a mess. I felt like Dallas was so assignment poor in that game with all the busts and things that were going on in that thing.
Oh,
I felt like that. Yeah, the physicality that the Packers played with, I thought was great. But Dallas, I mean, how many times were guys running Scott ass free in that secondary?
Like the Green Bay game is like not even useful tape.
No,
like you're not even like learning from watching.
It's to show how to not play defense. That's what that was all about. Hey, here's the example you throw on if you want to play really bad defense. Here's a great example for you. Mm-hmm. Now the offense wasn't any good either. No. Don't get me wrong. Everyone who stepped on the field that day will wear that one.
Sure.
But I'm saying, every time I looked up, it seemed like some tight end was running free, or they couldn't get the coverage right when they were trying to, the crossing routes, or the corners were playing or confused, got picked, whatever. That was embarrassing is what that was.
I do think that Michael will be a different player this year, but it's going to be because of Zimmer and what he does. And let me give a shout out to my guy Foots the King, because we have some fantastic content creators here in YouTube land. But Foots said on one of the roundtable shows that we do is Michael was so talented that it made Dan lazy. Like, he was so talented, it made Dan Quinn lazy. And boy, Foots the King, boy, that sticks with me. Because every time I watch Micah in a 4-point stance versus Trent Williams and not whooping the worst dude on their offensive line, I get sick. Or we go against the Giants and look, man, he got 2 sacks versus Andrew Thomas. Andrew Thomas, fantastic. But he'd had 7 sacks against that dude right there. You know what I mean? And, Broaddus got a lot of bad words because he felt like that Dan wasn't prepared and it was whatever.
Oh no, they came after me.
I agree with Broaddus. I think Dan Quinn got lazy as hell and said, "Hey, y'all dudes are just better. Y'all just are good players. Just go and play and be good players. We're gonna keep this scheme simple and y'all just go and be good players." But we never won defense with scheme. We just won with ass whoop. You know what I'm saying? I think we can finally please.
I was thinking about that when we were talking about the run game on offense. Like, have the Cowboys ever won with scheme in recent memory? Like, has the scheme been the reason they had the edge? Like, they're going to out talent you, or they're going to lose in frustrating fashion. Like, that's often how it feels. I'm sure I'm forgetting some games.
Did they come back? Did they scheme? Did we scheme? Did we scheme the Seahawks that one time that was a Thursday night game or a Sunday night game where it was
I haven't watched it recently, but my memory of that game is just Dak going nuclear.
Yeah.
Like, Dak
I wonder.
shit happen.
Yeah, and I wonder. Okay, Lions, or did you just get lucky that Meathead Campbell just decided to, go for 2-point play?
Dak's incredible, is what that is. But what I'm saying is, Brian, is that no. Listen, what I'm saying is,
yeah, no question.
Brian,
yeah,
what I'm saying is, all the best teams, if you look at their pre-snap motion rate, it's all in like the 60s and 70s. And then the Cowboys will go and have a game where it's in the 80s and we look fantastic. We beat the hell out of somebody. We move in CeeDee Lamb, and CeeDee Lamb's at running back. We got 4 tight end sets out there. It's looking crazy, and we mismatching the hell out of people. And then the next game, the motion be like 12%, and we don't see Turpin touch the ball. And the worst dudes on the team, we spam the ball to Michael Gallup. I'm like, man, what happened to this offense we just ran last week? That was fantastic. No, we don't. And if we don't scheme creatively, first of all, and if we do for one game, we don't do it consistently.
I remember. I'm going way back, but
Please.
They opened 2019. They beat the hell out of the Giants to open the season, and I think that would have been Kellen Moore's first year as OC.
Yeah.
And like, go watch that game back. Like the receivers were moving everywhere before every snap, like orbit motions and all this fun shit. And I was like, oh my God, the Cowboys, they did it. They joined us in the 21st century. Like it's all about to change. And like, they never came close to
the next game they ran a damn wishbone. They ran the wing tee out there the next game, Dave. You're right, man.
You're right, Voch. Like you'll see glimpses of it and then it just disappears. And I thought that was a Kellen Moore problem for a long time, but it seems the same post Kellen Moore too. I don't know.
The Buffaloes have 14 and the Bison have 20. So Bryan Broaddus' Bison are winning by 6 right now. Dave Helman, we're gonna ask you
9.5.
Yeah.
Hey, can I ask Dave Helman a question?
Hell yeah.
You're not kicking him out now, are you?
Hell no. Hell no. We talking.
He's 2 hours behind us. He could hang in there.
Hell no. We talking.
It is only 6 o'clock here.
That's right.
I got the game on my phone. I got the game.
Dave is determined that living on the West Coast is the best thing ever as a sports fan. Am I right about that, Dave?
It's hit and miss, honestly. Like it's nice for night games.
I saw that tweet. You were like, "Oh
no.
gosh, I love living on the West Coast now because I get."
It's
to watch
nice. It's nice because you'll never be up super late watching sports. Like even the late games are over by like 9 o'clock. But I personally, Brian, you know me. Like I like to have a drink at night. I like to have a good time.
What?
There's nothing.
You drink?
Exactly.
I'm trying to be like
There's
you.
Nothing. It sucks so bad. You wake up at 8:30 on a Saturday morning.
Yeah.
Maybe you're a little bit hungover, and like college football's starting already.
Yeah.
I don't like the morning.
Welcome
sports.
to Big Noon Kickoff, right?
I don't like the morning sports, or like NFL starts at 10, which not that 10 is super early, but I want to get up and like do the crossword puzzle and enjoy my morning, and it's just not happening when football kicks off at 10 o'clock.
Dave, you're not fooling us with the crossword puzzle. You and I went to LSU. We're not doing
I do the crossword puzzle all the time, I'll have you know.
That's some,
Voch,
that's some fancy shit.
Voch, you still have that Scantron I gave you? Mark B for false. David Helman. Oh, watch. He's gonna pull it up on his phone. Watch.
It's on my phone. It's on my phone.
There you go. Mark B. All right, Helman, real quick while you're looking this up. You obviously heard the comments from Dak today.
That's
crazy.
crazy.
I do it all the time.
That's fancy rich man behavior.
Your dad, who's a doctor, who's a hell of a lot smarter than you, does the crossword puzzle. I don't think you're doing it at all.
He's a big Sudoku guy. But anyway, you want to? We're going to talk about Dak.
Yeah, the comments that the quarterback made today about Jerry. What did our guy David Helman make of all that today? We've been kind of seeing Jerry. To me, seems like he's in a fighting mood now. He's fighting with everybody. You know, he's got that fighting mentality. And it used to be like, hey, we're okay. I think this 81, 82-year-old man is rolling up sleeves and fighting with people now.
You know, it's crazy. All right, we're all friends here. We're friends here, hanging out after dark, having a good time.
Yeah.
Y'all are plugged in. Maybe you can corroborate this. And like, I'm not reporting anything, but like, the minute CD signed, I start hearing, like, you hear a little bit of chatter of like Dak's coming next. Like, not that like anybody's signed anything or even that like, you know, it's imminent.
Yeah.
But I heard from multiple places after CD signed where it's just like, don't be surprised if they actually find a way to get this over the finish line. And so you're hearing smoke about that, and you're thinking like, holy shit, they're going to pull this off. They're actually going to pull this off. And that's where I was at this morning when I started seeing all that stuff. And maybe it's still true, but then you open Twitter and you see Dak saying like,
F Jerry.
It'll say it. Yeah, I mean, Dak's basically like it'll say a lot what they do, and I don't give a shit what Jerry says. And I was just like, where did this come from? Like, I thought everything was kind of in a good spot. Like, I had been led to believe that good things were happening. Right. So I was joking on Twitter today, like, did Todd France call Dak and be like, hey man, I know I told you it was good, but maybe it's not good. Like, I don't know, but it sure seems like a tone change from what I had heard. So I don't know what to make of it, honestly. I think, I think you can't overreact too much. I do think some of this is posturing. Jerry's protecting his leverage in the media, and Dak's kind of jabbing back. I mean, I think, Dak is in a secure enough place now where I don't think Dak gives much of a fuck about, keeping it real. So it's not to say that it can't be done, but I feel like you're seeing some jockeying here, and I mean I'm fascinated to see if they can pull this off here in the next week and a half.
Dave, we had Mike Sando on of The Athletic on 105.3 The Fan, and he said something to me or to the group that I thought was really interesting. I said, hey, I know you're around. I saw you at camp. I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to kiss the ring when you were out there and that stuff. But he goes, I go, give me something that, you learned out here. And he goes, well, I'm working on a lot of different projects. He kind of danced around a little bit. But he goes, let me tell you something, though. I kind of get the feeling that Dak and Jerry, if they don't get this done, are both in a good place. And that to me, that was very eye-opening, because Mike Sando is going to have access that maybe some of us don't have.
Right.
And he's going to talk to a Jerry or a Steven or a Dak and have that kind of access to him. And then he's going to move on to his next camp, is what he said. But when he said that, it made me think like, man, if they're okay with it and the quarterback's okay with it, there's a side of me that believes the quarterback's just had enough of all this shit.
Yeah.
That the quarterback's like, listen, hey, fuck you guys. This is bullshit. I stand up here and take the arrows every day about this. And I hear about my career on every talk show. I mean, you did a hell of a job, Dave, of going on and defending, and not defending, but at least trying to be a voice of reason about the quarterback, and you fight the fight. And I applaud you for doing that. But I just wonder if the quarterback's like, fine, I will get my money somewhere else. Vegas, Tampa, New Orleans, New York. I will get my money somewhere else if I have to. And I think Mike Sando might be onto something here.
I said I was doing a podcast right at the start of training camp where we were just sort of formulating ideas about what might be coming. And I don't know that this is true, but I just was kind of like, what if there's basically no offer the Cowboys can make that Dak wants? Like, short of just really giving him a crazy deal, just something that not even Dak could say no to. Maybe Dak's just like, you know what? I'm good. Like, I've got the leverage. I can make so much money. Maybe I'm tired of all of this.
Yeah.
And that's what's so weird is literally this week, it sounded like both sides were kind of moving in the right direction, and there was reason for optimism that this was going to get done. And it still could. I'm not saying it won't, but it's very it's surreal, kind of bouncing back and forth. Like, every couple of days, I'm like, I think it's over. And then 2 days later, I'm like, holy shit, they might sign Dak. And I don't know. I do know, or not know, but I'm very confident if he doesn't have a deal when they kick off against Cleveland, he's taking it to March. And if the Cowboys want to keep him, then they're going to have to compete.
Sure.
Like, I don't see a deal getting done once the season starts. I think that would be crazy on Dak's part.
Yep.
So at the very least, I think we'll have an idea of what to expect when the season starts, which is kind of what Dak said today.
I'm sure that when you guys first got into media, you were a little bright-eyed about it. But the longer you're into media, like your patience just gets a little worse. You're like, man, I'm not finna do this. I'm not writing this. I'm not doing that. I'm not finna. What you mean a post game show at 1 in the morning? Man, I ain't doing that. Man, I'm Bryan Broaddus. I ain't doing this.
I watched this man force his way off the team flight. All right, he was like, I'm not dealing with the turbulence anymore.
Yeah, I told Derek Eagleton, we got a beautiful studio, and my big ass is going to be doing pre and post game shows. So whatever you have to do to staff that, put me, Nate Newton together with Lindsey Draper, and we are going to do some work. Because I was not flying with that team anymore. I was done.
I feel like if I met Jerry Jones today, I never met Jerry Jones before. I'm going to shake his hand. I'm going to ask him 6 questions. I might want to take a picture or something. If Dave met Jerry Jones today, he's probably met him before. He'll shake his hand, maybe ask a question and then leave. Bryan will just say, "What up, Jerry?" and just keep on walking down the hall. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, there's levels to this.
It's levels, man.
Hey,
Bryan was in the draft room with the guy.
yeah.
So
let me
tracks.
tell you what. I told this story before. I walked down that hallway down there at Valley Ranch one day, and it was just him and me. And he walked up to me and he says, "Hey, I want to tell you something. You're kicking my ass pretty good today." And I literally thought I was done. I'm like, there goes another career for me. I'm done. And he goes, "But you're fair about it." And I went to my office. I literally closed the door, thought I was going to throw up, but
I remember because it was our office.
It was our office. I walked in there and I'm like Dave, But anyway, it's different levels just because you have where you've been and stuff like that. But I don't think this is, am I wrong to say Dak is kind of taking it away?
Let me ask you this.
Voch wasn't done with his analogy, I don't think. Where were you going?
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Doc.
Let me ask you this.
I get accused of doing this.
No,
all the time,
you good. Let me ask you this. Do you think that Dak, do you think Dak goes, man, Detroit not doing this with Jared Goff. Man, the Eagles not doing this mess with, Hurts and all them boys. All these other cats, man, Green Bay not doing this with them boys over there. Do you just think he's gotten to a point to where he just sick of the tactics? He just sick of them trying to win every last inch of the battle. Like, he's just over it. Like, man, look, I would love to be here. I would love to throw the ball to CD. CD just got paid. CD begging Jerry to do something now. I just think it's to a point, if it gets done, bet. But man, I got my money. I'm a daddy now. I'll go do this and the Saints will love me. I'll get less media out there. I'll get less nonsense, and they'll love me to pieces. They'll roll carpet and throw flowers at my feet, as opposed to Jerry saying, "Hey man, if we got to roll with Trey Lance, we'll do it." I think that's the biggest insult. If we got to roll with Trey Lance and Cooper Rush, we'll do it. Dak probably hears that and say, "Well, cool, do it. Cool, do it."
I won't even use I'm not even going to use Jordan Love as an example because Jordan Love beat the Cowboys in the playoffs. So, forget about Jordan Love. Tua has objectively accomplished less in this league than Dak Prescott. And, you're not seeing – it's not like pulling teeth getting a deal from the Miami Dolphins. And, some people are talking about Tua on the national level, but – it doesn't hold a candle compared to how we talk about Dak and how much we talk about Dak. There's no way in his private moments Dak can't be aware of stuff like that and just be like, damn, it's really easier for everybody else in this league but me. I've been saying that for months. Voch is the dude's already got generational wealth. I'm sure he would like his football resume to be better, but it is an objectively good football resume. He's in the prime of his career, and they don't have any leverage over him. And I think that's, if there was any doubt, Dak set it into a microphone, which was very impressive at the beginning of training camp, where he's like, "I don't have any fear about what comes next because somebody's going to pay me a lot of money to be their quarterback. And I've got a decade-long track record that proves that I'll probably be pretty good at it wherever I'm doing it." I really think – that's not to say he won't re-sign in Dallas, but I completely believe that he's just kind of at peace with whichever way this goes.
Yeah, I do too. I think that, and I guess that goes back to what Mike Sando said, that, hey, that both sides, if Jerry, and I know, Dave, there were times when you and I were working together with .com that you heard the whispers of like, is this really our guy? Is this really our quarterback? And, we were always like, wow, that's pretty telling right there. But that was several years ago. I think Dak's come a long way since. But man, I there's a side of me now that feel like that if this thing doesn't get done before they go to Cleveland, he's probably going to be somebody else's quarterback.
You know what's crazy? I want to throw this out there. I did think about this, and I had forgotten about it. But remember, they let Amari hit free agency in 2020.
Yeah.
And
he came back. Washington made him a good offer.
Washington made him an offer, and lo and behold, he re-signed in Dallas. So like, I can't completely discount the idea of Jerry Jones magic, where the Cowboys find a way to keep him even if he hits free agency. Sure. But I don't believe that will happen, and I talked about this on Twitter recently, where like, a quarterback with no restraints can call whatever shots he wants. And like, if somebody with all the money in the world offers him, like Kirk Cousins got a 3-year fully guaranteed deal at 30-something million a year. Somebody could afford to pay Dak a fully guaranteed 3-year, $200 million deal. And like, Jerry can, we can say all the nice things we want about Jerry as a businessman. I just don't think the Cowboys can compete with that. Yeah. Not with the other contracts they have to take into consideration and stuff like that. So you do have to remember that anything could happen, and maybe he hits free agency and still wants to be in Dallas. But I just think the offers he would get would be way too strong.
Dave, do you think they've already made their decision?
Ask me in 10 days, man. I'm so serious. Like, I heard it from places I feel good about.
Yeah.
Where they were like, I think it'll get done before. Yeah.
Dave, let me ask you the same question, but differently. Does this season affect how they look at Dak Prescott? Like, if he goes out there, Dak can't be trashy. Like, it'll take a horrific effort for him to be trashy, right? But do you think if he goes out there and loses in a wild card again, he may be like, he could win the MVP this year, but if he loses in a wild card again, do you just move on, or do you think they move on?
I think it absolutely matters, because why would we be here otherwise? We're like, Tony Romo got a contract extension coming off of an 8-8 season. Sure. You know what I mean? Like, we see like teams. Trevor Lawrence got signed 2 years early coming off of a collapse, where they lost first place in the division and didn't make the playoffs. Like, if the team fully believed, they might have done this after the 2022 season. Because that's when it registered on my radar, like, hey, you should probably do this early if you want to. If they wanted to, what's the meme about dating? If he wanted to, he would. Like, if the Cowboys were completely bought in on Dak, we would not be doing this. And so, I do think the way he plays matters. And like, but that's the crazy thing to me is, it's such a cliche where, people are like, take us to the Super Bowl and then you can have your deal. And it's like, he could do whatever. And it's not up to you. It won't be up to the Cowboys. Like, he could make a playoff run, or he could go 0-1. And it doesn't change the fact that the Cowboys' only way to keep him here is to make him the best offer. Yeah. And like I said, I don't know how realistic that is if they let it get to the point that other teams are getting involved.
Dave, real quick on this one, do you think that Todd France back in the day changing agencies led to all this? That they couldn't get a deal done? Do you understand what I'm trying to ask there?
Todd France himself changing agencies, or changing agents and hiring Todd?
But Todd, remember going from one agency to another. And all of his guys then went on franchise tags. Remember, none of those guys signed. Was that the time that maybe Dallas And it's a two-way street. Trust me. That Adam Pacific and those guys probably had trouble with Todd France, and Todd Francis probably had trouble with Adam and Jerry and everybody else. But the fact that Todd France went from one agency to another while Dak's contract was going to be negotiated, did that put the Cowboys, and Dak was like, fine. And if you want to change agencies, I'll take the franchise tag. Let's not negotiate this thing and we'll see what happens. Is there any legs to that?
I think we are watching in real time NFL players grab as much agency as they can, control. I mean, we're seeing it everywhere, I mean, I do think there's validity to the idea that CD Lamb purposefully waited longer than he needed to because he knew the price was going to go up.
Yeah.
The Brandon Ayuk saga finally ended today. Like, more and more you're seeing players push back and use what little control they have. And I think, but by the point, God, it's so hard to think back to that point in time. But by 2019, by the time Dak took the tag, he'd been a 5,000 yard passer. I think he missed 5,000 yards by 50 yards in 2019. Yeah. So I don't think it matters who's representing him. I think if you prove you can do that, you throw for 5,000 yards. And,
so that's when they should have struck when he had that 5,000 yard season. That's when they should have. Yeah. You should always get if you even feel like he might be the guy, I am of the belief the sooner you do it, the better. Yeah. I mean, Trevor Lawrence is a great example. Yeah, I've been fighting with people all summer where they're like, what has he proven? I'm like, I don't give a shit what he's proven. He's talented. Yeah. And now you have him on a deal 2 years early, which allows you to move his money around and save money in the long term. That's how you got to think about this stuff. So yeah, I mean, I don't think it's an agent thing. I think it's Dak having supreme self-confidence and realizing that he's got a lot of power as a quarterback. No, I don't. I mean, I never really thought that it mattered. All that stuff. I just wonder. The Cowboys ran up against a guy with even more belief in themselves than they have. Yeah, no, Dak is always going to believe in himself, but I just wonder if Todd France not wanting to put new money with an old agency. And he convinced Dak.
But at the same time that your agent works for you, and Dak had to be on board with that.
But that's what I'm saying.
If Dak valued comfortability and stability over everything, he'd be like, no, screw it, dude. Let's get me a deal. I'm a 4th round pick. Let's get me my 60, 70, whatever.
I just wonder if France convinced him to bet on himself, and Dak was willing to do it.
Mm.
Well, if that's what happened, then I bet Dak thanks him for it all the time.
He absolutely does. Yeah. He absolutely does. Yeah.
Helman, last one real fast. What do you have to say to the Cowboy fans that are saying, well, let's move on from Dak and let's be trash for 1 year, and then we draft Arch Manning in the 2000 whatever draft he comes out? What do you have to say to those Cowboy fans saying that?
I don't I know, people think I'm on Dak's payroll. I have no, this is just me offering up my
voice of reason,
my objective analysis, and honestly, and that's what I always say with the, people who talk about wanting to see more from Dak. I'm like, fine, let him go.
Yeah.
Let him go then. I can't honestly, as a thought exercise. And as somebody who, I like it when the Cowboys succeed because it's fun. I spend a lot of time there. I've got a great relationship, but I don't live and die with the results of these games. Me personally, I would be fascinated to see who comes out of that better, because I think Dak is a top 10 quarterback in this league. I think he would have success wherever he goes. I also think the Cowboys are really good at drafting, and I think it's mostly luck. But they have found 2 franchise quarterbacks in a row. Maybe they could do it again. I don't think the numbers are in their favor, but I would be fascinated to see it. But I will just say to any Cowboy fan that's desperate for them to do that, don't come complaining to me when it blows up in your face and you're watching Paxton Lynch do whatever nonsense he's doing for the next 2-3 years. That's all I'm saying. What's the significance of this painting?
You got the Phil Collins face, like he's not believing what you're saying right
The
now.
Cowboys can't evaluate no damn quarterback, Dave Helman. What are you saying? You have stumbled into damn Tony. You stumbled into Dak. You thought Trey Lance was worth the 4th round pick. The Cowboys are not good quarterback. They evaluate everything else good except quarterback, Dave Helman. This Phil Collins face.
I am inclined to agree with you, but we can't write off the possibility that they do it again. I'm just saying that. But like I said, I would love to see who's right. And if I'm right and Dak goes and succeeds and the Cowboys are up shit creek for a few years, I will be so insufferable about it. You can bet on that.
Dave, I tend to agree with you. I would love for the Cowboy fans to learn their lesson about needing Dak Prescott and great quarterbacks, but the whole Cooper Rush thing, the whole Brandon Whedon thing, the whole Matt Castle thing, that was not that long ago. That was in that was in this same quarterback administration or whatever. So, hey, I would love for Cowboy fans to learn a lesson, but they probably won't learn their lesson in that, man. Hey,
I can't lose. I can't lose either way because, like, either Dak resigns and I get to watch Dak play quarterback, which I really enjoy, or we get to do this. We get to. It would be a hell of an experiment. We would have so much to talk about. The takes that we could get off and the arguments that we could get in about who should play quarterback for the Cowboys, and then we could bring in the element where we're like, oh my God, did you see? Dak and the Steelers just dropped 40 points the other day. Like, what the hell's going on? Like,
it's
you
good.
Can't deny that it would be interesting.
It's good for your ass because you on salary. You getting paid regardless. Plus, you get to talk about Pittsburgh. If the Cowboys trash, YouTube land won't be fun. We won't make no money out here.
My brother in Christ, can you imagine the views that you would do talking quarterback prospects in the spring if the Cowboys needed one?
That is 4 months.
I'm just... Yeah.
What we gonna do in October?
Then they actually have to play the games, right?
Dave and I've started that draft show before December 1st. We've done that in our lives.
Yeah, that's tough, man. Hey, how fun was this though, man? How fun was this? This is awesome.
I love coming on with y'all, man. This is great. It's like it does wonders for my mood to see both of you. I could listen to Broaddus talk ball all day. Yeah. It's my favorite thing.
I miss you, brother. Keep up the great work.
I miss you too, man.
I miss you. And hey, thanks again for making time for us, man. Really. And enjoy the season. I hope we get to do it again. You know, we'll figure this thing out again. But you're
holler at me. I'm always online. So
I know
you know how to find me.
Love you, man. Love you.
I love you too, dude. Love you, Voch. I'll talk to y'all soon.
Yep. And hey, I'm Voch Lombardi. That's Dave Helman of Fox Sports, and that's Bryan Broaddus. Y'all hold it down, and we'll catch y'all next time. I can't find my mouse to end the show. There it is. Crown.